Welcome back to the eSports Report, presented by the Xbox One. I'm Benson, joined by the wonderful Mr. X. Just talking about all the news as it came in today, all the exciting stuff about Call of Duty. Personalized Exos coming out, COD Champs open to the general public now too. That's got me pretty pumped up.
Yeah, tons of news today, and then also joined by Bricey, talking a little bit about the EU qualifier. Bryce, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. A little bit of PC trouble just a minute ago, but otherwise pretty good.
Yeah, your PC blue screen the first time ever when we ring you.
Yes, it did.
Good job. 10 out of 10 on that PC right there. Bryce, first things first. There's been a lot of confusion, I feel, towards the European regional qualifier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone else kind of, gets what happens in Brazil. They get what happens over in North America and the Australian region too. But people confused. Even some of the players I've seen tweeting, not really understanding how it works. So can you just kind of explain to everyone exactly how the European regional is going to work?
Well, this is the funny thing. It's actually the same as it has been in previous years, but I think there was a lot of players kind of thinking it was different, a lot of rumors flying around.
Right.
But it is the same thing. You will play one game against your opposite half, whether that be, if you're from the UK, there's 8 teams, so there's 4 1v1 games. It's going to go off pro points. That was confirmed today. If you're from a qualifier with only one, say Spain, you'll play against your opposite number. That one game will qualify you for World Champs. On the Sunday, you'll play through the bracket, which of course will be seeded again by pro points, and that will determine your seeding.
It's pretty much just kind of a it's kind of like a playoff from the original bracket you guys had online, just reseeded.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and you're getting to play that one qualification game on LAN instead of online.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's something that's been done before.
Huh?
It makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
You just explained that so quick. Why couldn't you not explain that like a week ago when everyone
I did.
You didn't. I never heard you ever.
I don't trust either of you to explain anything.
So
Brycey can't figure out how to explain anything. The people over there are going crazy.
yeah, it's
I figured all of Europe out in
all right,
2 minutes.
All right, calm yourself. Bryce, talk to me about some of the top teams to really watch out for in the European qualifier.
Oh, there's loads. Let's talk about some of them though. So I'm going to talk about the UK first because obviously it's what I'm most comfortable with.
Okay.
There's a lot, obviously, the infamous 2, TCM and Epsilon. They get mentioned whenever you bring up the UK.
I feel
they had fairly flawless runs. I think we're going to bring up Epsilon first of all, and I was actually speaking to someone earlier about this. I think it was under kind of realised that Epsilon went through the qualifier without dropping so much as an S&D round.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people tweeting about that during the UK qualifier. Yeah, they didn't drop a single S&D round. A round.
Yeah, they did
not
a round. 24-0.
Yeah.
They went through the qualifier.
They seem pretty good at S&D. Question, how good is Swanee now, do you feel? Do you think his move coming over to North America has helped him a lot? Is he considerably better than everyone else?
I thought it was fantastic when he went over. I was a massive advocate of him going to the States in the first place, but I wouldn't say he was better than anybody else. He does seem very, very confident. I think someone said since he come back, his confidence is sky high.
Okay.
And I think that'll help him a lot because he should just be able to put the hammer down with the rest of the guys. Fortunately, the team he's kind of slipped back into, it's pretty just like a well-worn jacket. He's played with all these guys before. He knows what he's doing. They've all got great team chemistry. It's kind of like an Epsilon of old.
Right. I think Swanee definitely deserves to have a little bit more confidence. Came over. I thought his run in the States was phenomenal.
Dude, it was amazing. You look at his performance at UMG,
right, one of the higher KDs.
It was crazy good.
Talk about the rest of his teammates, though. Mad Cat, Josh, and Tommy. I think those are 3 of the more talented players in Europe. Before Swanee goes back, how were they playing prior to that?
Well, this is the great thing about Epsilon, right? This team has kind of come from all over. So it was Epsilon started off Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and they had PT and Dominate in that squad, and they actually won the first LAN. They eventually all kind of split ways. Tommy came back from the French team he was teaming with, I believe it was Vitality.
Yep.
Obviously, Swanee's come back from America, so they've all kind of met up from across the globe for this tournament. Genuinely, they're all very good, and this is Josh's first COD Champs as well.
That's very true. He has a big point to prove.
Really?
Yeah, he's missed out on the last 2 due to his age, been young. And you kind of have that Josh Madcat duo-ship, which has been around the European scene for some time, really just coming back together. Tommy, who, we actually spoke about Tommy the other day as, what we consider to be one of the best players on the game, period.
Oh, Tommy's phenomenal, I think.
He really is. And then you, of course, add Swanee to that team, and, well,
But this is it. It is a team of superstars, and pretty much every single one of these players has proved themselves on the big stage.
Right.
The only kind of thing, like, one thing that's been irritating me that I've seen a few times, people have been saying, like, Josh is a weak point in that team, and I actually don't believe that at all.
Oh, I disagree 100%.
Exactly. I mean, this is the thing that's kind of going through in my mind. You got to remember that he's surrounded by, Swanee, Mad Cat, who are there to drop the numbers. Tommy's kind of like the in-game leader. Josh just, if you watch Josh, he just does the work. Sits back, he just does the work, he gets in there, his communication is unbelievable, and he's actually the hype man. He's a very small guy. He's a massive hype player, Josh.
You know what's interesting? It kind of reminds me somewhat of Optic Gaming.
Really?
In a weird kind of way, you can kind of compare some of those plays. Like the Swanee, Formal, both those two plays you're going to expect to see a Bow with and like just kind of do that kind of passive role. You got Josh and Nadeshot going to be doing the objective work. And it's kind of the same thing that which Bricey just said about Josh. People consider him to be the weak link because he isn't always putting up the numbers, but that's because he has 3 amazing teammates around him who are going to be getting all those kills.
Only so many kills you can get.
Right, exactly.
I've never considered Josh to be a weak point, and people who do that, like, it's easy for people to go, oh, look at this KD, or look at the work he's doing, but when Mad Cat's consistently dropping huge numbers, which is what Mad Cat does. That's all Mad Cat ever does. I think he went through the last year's qualifier at regionals. I don't think he went negative on a single map.
That's obscene.
And it's little things like that.
I do have one question though. We saw a couple of European teams come over at UMG. Didn't perform as well as I hoped, and I know you yourself, they kind of underperformed a lot. However, I didn't feel it was, we didn't have a team like Epsilon, who now looks so dominant. How good do you reckon this Epsilon team could be against some of the best in North America?
I think they're going to be very good. Now, obviously, Epsilon last champs, they had a decent run.
They did.
So they got stopped by Envious, and it was very close. They could have gone a lot further. Remember they 3-0'd Optic last champ.
They did.
Now,
and that isn't the first time they beat Optic either.
No, the Optic have the horrible thing against Epsilon. They don't do very well against them.
Yes, they seem to actually fall short a lot of times.
Obviously, this new roster for Optic is incredible, but
that's true.
This is kind of a debate that's going on. I've been tweeting it a few times over the last couple of weeks, saying TCM Epsilon, who do you think is going to take it? Now, these two teams haven't played in a while on LAN, and to be honest with you, that for me, EU Regional, that's the game I want to see. Have to see that game. It's a big rivalry. These two teams, these two organisations have been, at the top for well over a year now.
Okay.
Right. TCM was the team that I was going to ask you about, Bryce, just from the standpoint that they came over to UMG Orlando, had a fairly bad showing. I mean, all near the bottom in KDs. Nobody really performed for them. Have they kind of righted the ship a little bit since going back to Europe? And where is the ceiling for that team?
Honestly, because I went to watch them, and the bits where they lost, I was casting, so I didn't really get to see. But I don't really it still boggles my mind that happened. Because that team has performed incredibly well. They won a lot over here online. They keep performing. They're very happy with the team as it is. I think TCM kind of considered it a blip. They were kind of shocked themselves that they performed that badly. I generally believe this team is incredible. I mean, you got to think of the players, innit? You've got Gunchi, Moose, Jerd, and Shane. These are all players that are well known both sides of the pond. Especially, I mean, for me, Jerd is easily one of the best players on this game.
Is he? He
is a hardpoint monster.
Right.
I was watching him there, and I was actually sitting behind the feature stage at UMG. And there was a few kind of fans there next to him, and everybody was looking at Jerd's screen, and everybody was looking at Jerd's screen for a very good reason. The things he does is a magic. He moves, in my opinion, a lot like Karma does in this game.
Okay.
Karma, the human highlight reel. Jerd is a very similar kind of movement style in the way he kind of floats about the map and still pulls off things you don't believe.
Right, and I go back to his hardpoint skills. You look at Black Ops 2, for example. Jerd's hardpoint was impeccable. He was actually really, I feel, well known for kind of juggling the hill. His knowledge of when to juggle, when not, obviously playing for streaks. And that brings me on to my next point, Bryce. Are you expecting any of the European players to use streaks or no?
Well, there was one team who did it, I believe, in our qualifiers.
Really?
The name escapes me, and they put on an assault drone. I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, a lot of people haven't been using them. Is this because people have been holding back? I've already had a few of the UK teams go, we've got a surprise for champs. We've got a few tactics. What those tactics are, nobody really knows it. Everybody's holding their ace in their pocket.
Bombing run, man. Guarantee it. Someone's going to put on bombing run, obliterate a hardpoint.
I don't know about bombing run. I think the hills are so inside.
Why not? All right, but realistically, just think about how easy it is now to get streaks. Since they changed the amount of points that you get per kill, it's so a player like Jerd, who is renowned for being able to juggle a hill back in Black Ops 2, He gets, what, a cap, 2 kills and a cap? He has a bombing run.
Good point.
I mean, they're lethal on this game. Like, why would you not? In my mind, at least, I think you'd be silly not to do that.
I mean, yeah, nah. I think somebody will use streaks at champs. It'll be pretty effective.
They have to.
Bryce, for TCM, for me, I think the player that needs to step up is Moose. Had a pretty good Ghost.
Right.
He's kind of been up and down in Advanced Warfare. What do you expect from him coming around, regional time?
I think this is where Moose will perform amazing. He performed amazing last regionals, and it will definitely be in his comfort zone. Now, Moose can be a tiny bit inconsistent, but that's not saying he's wavy or he's bad at any points. I think that people hold Moose to such a high standard because he performs magic. Genuinely performs magic. He's a magician sometimes. He just performs the most ridiculous thing. I mean, we saw him get a 1v4 versus Cole back on Ghost.
Oh,
and he'll do that at the slowest pace.
Matt just looked at me as if to say, why has Bryce brought this up again? Like, oh my God.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, of course you don't.
Yeah, of course you don't. It's convenient how the 1v4 against you is just slipped your memory, just slides away. In terms of the other teams there,
they expect Moose to put down huge numbers, and I fully believe if Moose is on form, he rivals anybody in the world.
Thanks, Christopher Puckett. Chris says hello, by the way, Bryce. Chris says hello.
Chris.
Brycey says hi, Chris. Moving on, though, Millennium. Marky B, a player I love watching. Marky, who doesn't love Marky? He's a great personality in Europe. He's awesome. He's going to be playing with Rated, Carnage, and Jake. Is this going to be a team that we expect to see finish, maybe top 8 at COD Champs? Or is it going to struggle?
This is actually an interesting story. So, obviously, the Pro Points lock was yesterday. And there was a little bit of where a player's finishing, and funny enough, Millennium was kind of in two minds about what to do before the online qualifier.
Right.
Because the was it 3rd to 5th are very, very tight in Pro Points. So it was TCM first, Epsilon second, Millennium third, Aware fourth. It's now, after the lock, Aware have overtaken to 3rd position.
Really?
Yes. Which means that Aware will no longer be playing Infused, so we will not get a repeat of the Aware Infused game at regionals, and actually puts Millennium in a slightly worse position.
So
Infused are a really good team.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are those matches then? Who are we going to see play who?
I had all my notes up before I had a blue screen. I don't want to go too much just in case I get this wrong. I believe Millennium have to play Infused. I think Aware have Tech, I want to say.
Ooh.
These are all really good games, but I think Millennium would have been more comfortable against Tech than they would be against Infused.
Okay.
I think that you've probably seen over the last couple of days, a few tweets come out from some of the players, probably feeling a little bit shaken by the fact that they've not got the game they expected.
Yeah. Speaking about Infused real quick, the roster. Who's on that team, Bryce?
Well, this Infused team, it's got a few favourites on there. Former Lightning Panda himself, Quicker Than You, is on that squad.
Hey,
so I was really happy to see. Because I made a joke to Fear Crowds and Benny Central the other day saying, if TCM and Infused make it a champs, you two are the problem.
Oh!
The infamous Lightning Pandas.
That's very true.
They've got Dominate, Melon, and Reedy on there as well.
Okay.
And these are all really good players. I quite rate all of them. Dominate of Epsilon. You've got, Reedy, who's kind of been playing around the top now for quite a while. He's kind of coming up. He's one of the players I'm keeping a good eye on, as well as Rated, who is in Millennium. So this is a really good match. I mean, it's why the game versus Aware was so fantastic at the final game of the first day of the UK qualifiers. It was such a good game. Here we had pros tweeting in saying, please put this game on stream. We have to watch it.
No, Aware, really the only name that I'm familiar with on that roster is Petey. Just tell us a little bit more about the other 3 players, Watson, JT, and Joe.
Well, so Watson, who is affectionately got the name from me as the Warlock, because he just occasionally drops massive numbers. Now, JT took a sabbatical. Him and Watson are a little bit of a duo. He's come back. He did take a bit of time away in Ghost. And they were actually under the old Infused roster, and they played with people like Momo, people like Jake, and they're fantastic players. Both of them are fantastic players.
Okay.
I fully believe they're going to do a lot of damage in this game. They're very hyped. Watson himself is very intense. He really loves winning.
The last team that I want to touch on, Bryce, real quick, is Vitality. This is a team who I think they kind of have a big fan base. Of course, Kataga's on that lineup. You got Risk and Dialux and Get Some. Are the French going to be causing some upsets at the World Championship, Bryce, or
well, if
are
you're
they
talking
not
French,
looking as strong
then
as they used
it
to?
might be a little bit difficult to kind of say those, to be honest with you, because Vitality X, as they're known, didn't have the cleanest run that they would have liked. They almost didn't make it in the first qualifier. They actually almost fell out, and their other halves, which you will definitely know the name of, Vitality Dark, which has like Broken, Agony, and Diablo in, failed to get to the regional.
That's crazy.
It's huge. A lot of people know these players.
That shocked me. That I remember getting
that was
the
the
list.
first thing you said.
I remember getting the list of players from the EU qualifier.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Where's Broken?" And I was like, "Broken didn't qualify." You know, what has he been up to in this game? You know, is it just they got a little bit unlucky in the qualifier, or has it been a little bit off?
A little bit of roster change has been going on. I mean, obviously, like you've had a few UK players go over to big French organisations, and a little bit of displacement. It's kind of evening out over there. I mean, it used to be basically like Kataga's team and maybe another French team for quite a long time. There's now like 4 or 5 good French teams who are all kind of scrabbling for that top spot. And I think that's what we're going to see over the next year or so with this kind of the rotation of players. It's happening in the American scene. It's happening in the UK scene. I think the French scene is changing. And I don't know if we're going to see the same names over again.
That's
excited.
pretty interesting because Broken unable to attend UMG as well. Let's
Right.
not forget about that. That was pretty upsetting. But not qualifying for World Champs. Definitely a big name upset in that one. And for now, guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we return, we're going to be looking at some of the European gameplay from the qualifiers. Brycey's going to stay with us and talk us through it. We'll be right back.